Hey everybody. Hi. Welcome. It's Leslie Plazz here, Zazoo Plazz. Here for my Zazoo Plazz report, March 19th, 2023. I don't know if you could see. Got a little tree here. There's little buds coming out. Little tiny ones. There's some trees that have the red ones. But yeah, March 19th, 2023, Zazoo Plazz report. Wow, it's so quiet and so dark. I heard the geese, when I was getting ready to come out of here, I heard the geese take off around 7:30. And the dogs are barking. I don't know if the barking dogs cause the geese to, to be so noisy, or if the geese taking off cause the dogs across the street to bark. Because, I'm always fascinated by these things. It's like the chicken and the egg, right? Which came first? Which comes first? The geese or the dogs or the whole? Or maybe they all sense some kind of energy, you know? Because, okay, so it's March 19th. I want to say happy birthday to my husband. It's his birthday today, St. Joseph's Day. And, he's with his mom. He's taking care of his mom and looking over all of her affairs, things going on. No, she's not having it. By affairs, I mean daily things. He's over at her house. She hasn't been feeling well, so she has people come taking care of her, and he's juggling. He's juggling all the balls in the air, right? So those of you who might be, around our age, mid-50s, there's a lot to take care of, right? Because you've got your stuff, your work, your health, your, family, right? And then maybe you're looking after a parent, right? An elderly parent who has health, who's going through, some health issues. And so you've got that, and then so you're in the middle, you've got, past stuff that you're tying up, right? And then you've got the future stuff that you have to keep an eye on, right? The things that are coming down the line. And then you've got all the, in the middle. So the song of the week, before I get into anything, he came home. So today, on his birthday, he came back to our house. My son was home. He went back to Yukon today in his car, his brand new car. I'll get into that, what happened about the new car this week. His new 1996 blue Miata. I posted a picture there on my Zazoo Plazz page. So my husband was home. He made everybody pancakes and turkey bacon, and and before he went back. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so that was the thing. And so I'm eating my pancakes, and all of a sudden, this song pops into my head, like from nowhere. Now, maybe this is a Gen X thing, because I see different, videos out there, and you're, just going about your business, and all of a sudden, this song pops in my head. Crystal Waters, 1994, came out April 11th. 100% Pure Love. That song that goes, back to the middle and round again, I'm gonna be there till the end. Won the 1994 Best MTV Dance Video. And yes, kids, back in the day, MTV had the best videos. They had videos. I don't even know anymore. But, this was a song, like, to get you going, because today's the end of the astrological year. So really, this should be New Year's Eve, right? So you should be out dancing, getting ready. We've got a pile up in Aries going on. Saturn's in Pisces. Saturn's conjunct my Eros. That's the root of erotic, E-R-O-S. That's from, right, it's basically what turns you on, right? And it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be, it could be a pure thing, like 100% pure love, this song, right? It could be what just gets your heart beating faster. What's exciting to you? You know, what do you like to create? So, I like to dance, right? When I hear this song, I can't sit down. I have to get up and dance, right? So, this is the kind of song you play when you need to get up off your excuses and clean the house or start a project or whatever. This is the kind of song you want to crank up. Not if it's the middle of the night, which is usually when I dance. I like to dance like nobody's watching me. And then the song's over and I see the dog looking at me. I don't care what she thinks. I don't really care what people say about me. So, I've been known to break out dancing in the middle of the grocery store. My song comes on and I'm dancing, waving at the cameras. But the thing is, most people are oblivious. They might see me dancing and they're it used to be, if you went out dancing in the middle of the grocery store, they're like, look at this lady. But now they've got like robots running around. And, whenever I would go into, like, my local shop and stop, I'd get that robot chasing me around, He's, I don't like the looks of this one. She's up to no good. Ah! Anyway, he just made a break for it. Marty the robot, he just made a break for it into the parking lot somewhere in Pennsylvania a few months ago. They caught him, though. They brought him back. So whatever. But now we got bots on the loose. But when this song came out, man, April 11th, 1994, lead single from her second album, Storyteller. I love it. Storyteller. That's what I do. So, I want to finish telling this story. So I'll come back to that. So, my kid went back to college today. So, last week, as you recall, if you were here last week, you recall it was my minivan that broke down, right next to the goats, the goat farm and the chickens. And so they fixed the car. So what was happening was the water was leaking out. The antifreeze had corroded, ate a hole in my water pump, and the stuff was leaking out. And so I needed a new radiator because the heat wasn't working. I'm like, why is the heat not working? It's because the fluid wasn't going through and it wasn't, heating up. So I'm like, okay, I'm lucky I didn't blow a gasket. Enough things blowing a gasket around here. So anyway, so we went up, husband and I picked up the car, I got my minivan. Everybody's taking off. I'm like, where the heck are my keys? Somebody took off with my minivan keys. My minivan's sitting in the driveway. I can't even get in it because I don't have a key. So I'll have to figure that mystery out later. But, so my son, he's got his car. He's, cool. He put the new tires on it. One of his friends put his hand through the convertible, the top, because it's so flimsy. So he had to order a new top, so he's doing the stick. It's a stick shift, right? So he gets. When was it? Thursday. Toward the end of the week, he calls. He says he texts us, "Oh, my car broke down." I'm not making this up. So something happened with the shift mechanism and it broke. So he had to call a tow truck once again. So now we have AAA. But he had to call a tow truck. They forgot about him. He left him on the highway for 4 hours on 84, which is the highway that runs through Connecticut here. Our part of Connecticut, it runs right through Hartford, goes from New York up to the Mass Pike. So he's on there. This woman shows up, like a little older than him, girl, driving a tow truck. girls. She's like, oh yeah, nice car, you know. He's talking to her about a car. I'm like, that's awesome. He had a lady tow truck driver pick him up on the highway. Like, yeah, that is cool. It was just the other day before that happened. All of a sudden, I'm on the highway driving my minivan home. I'm like, gee, I wonder if there are any lady truck drivers, just randomly. And then one shows up at my house. That was really cool. Yeah. So then we had our. Did I tell you about the corned beef and cabbage that shorted out my crock pot? All the liquid put all my corned beef and cabbage in there. Was it Tuesday? And then it's an old crock pot. But, you know, there was liquid in there. And it's bubbling, and I got all my potatoes, my carrots, everything. The liquid bubbled over, and it shorted out. It, like, corroded the bottom of the crock pot. So it's all, like, you know. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Bird smell? If you read Zazoo and Plazz, you know that I am all about kitchen explorations. I have various kitchen fails. Every now and then I go in to prove what a great cook I am and a hot shot, and the universe proves me wrong. So the corned beef and cabbage was awesome. But so I'm talking to my dad. He's like, "Oh, we got 2 crock pots here. You can use one of ours." I guess my mother, she bought all these crock pots. He hardly ever uses them now that she's not around. But he's telling me how he did me one better. He's like, "Oh, you can just make it in the Instapot." He's telling me how he made his crock pot. He put the meat in there, and then he put my father, he's a Taurus. He's very self-sufficient. So he had that, and then he's a social butterfly now. He says, "Oh, I'm a little bit tired of corned beef and cabbage because I went to the church thing, and then I went to my band social, and they had, and he's go." So that's my dad. That's all the news coming, So anyway, oh, and I was excited to announce this week, I had, let's see, in the late 90s, I went to this, it was like a mail order school for writing down in southern part of Connecticut. It used to be called the Long Ridge Writers Group. And I had, a teacher. Back then it was letters. I'd do an assignment, mail it there, she'd mail it back. I mean, we didn't even use email. This is I think I started in 95 or 6, right after I got married. And then right up through 99, and I got my diploma. I got, thing. So I went online, and now it's called the Institute for Writers and the Institute for Children's Literature. The woman, Kay Byington, who taught me, she's no longer, on this side of the divide. She's passed over. But I think she's looking out for me. Because, I filled out this form, and they did a little interview type format with me. And, click on it. It's on my Facebook page. And, they asked me some questions about the book and how it came together and my inspirations and so forth. So, yeah. A shout out to the Institute for Children's Literature and the Institute for Writers. And my book is for grown-ups. Well, it's for those, the young at heart, those who never really grew up among us, those who have easy access to their inner child. Or would like to reclaim their, inner childlike qualities. So check it out. So anyway, so it's St. Joseph's Day, and I always like to give a shout out to St. Joseph because my family has, strong ties to St. Joseph. My grandfather's birthday was March 17th. My grandmother's his wife was 2 days later. They were 2 days apart. She was March 19th. And, my grandfather, my Pepe, his mother used to save a little bit for St. Joseph. They had a little general store every week, so for St. Joseph, for us, for Saint Joseph, for so, and they were, devoted to Blessed Andre, who's now Saint Andre, um, up in Quebec, who was, I guess he was a healer. There's those who, his devotion, he wanted to build a church to honor Saint Joseph, and he did so. He's my son, my older son's middle name is Joseph. So all these types of things, but they say when you want to sell a house, you take a statue of Saint Joseph and you turn it upside down in a flower pot, and that works. My mother was a real estate agent. She said she would always do that, Saint Joseph, or like in the front, she put a statue of Saint, because Saint Joseph is the patron saint of the home, homes, family, the family. He was stepfather of Jesus. So that's I have lots of funny stories about that, but so yeah, Saint Joseph is always kind of shown. He's he looked after Jesus when Jesus was on the earth. He was his stepdad. So I kind of think of him, and that the Lord is my shepherd, the rod and the staff, and give God's at my side. It's almost like he's a protector. He's someone who is down to earth, and somebody who's got your back. So it's the reading today about that my cup runneth over, and the oil and all that, shining a light in the darkness. I don't fear darkness. So and I think it's true. Darkness gets a bad rap. But, in dark times, when you shine a light, right, the more light it shines, it starts exposing more of the stuff that's hidden in the dark. And you realize you see it for what it is, right? The sun comes up, and this very scary thing over here, it's a tree, right? It's going to come into bloom. It's going to have birds sitting in it. It's just a tree. Like when I was a kid, I'd lie in my room, and I would see, I had a street in front of me. I had two windows. I had one window there, and going to the north. I had one going to the east. And sometimes, as a kid, during the winter, you'd see the trees, the shadows, right? The wind would blow, and you'd see it was just the naked trees casting shadows, or a car would go by, shine its headlights, right, and it would hit the trees, and the trees would make a scary imprint on my walls or ceiling, and I'd be with the covers up to my chin, with my Raggedy Ann and my Humpty Dumpty, because I was an only child. So, can you imagine being a child with a very vivid imagination, alone in the dark, in my bedroom? I mean, even if my parents were watching TV but they didn't care. They were, they just said, "Oh, she's good. She's down for the night." I wouldn't have dreamt. Well, the only time I did was like if they were laughing and they were watching Laughing. I would want to, this is when I was little, but I remember, maybe 3, late 60s, I was a toddler, so. But, I very vividly remember that room that I had so much fun in during the day, reading and playing and, dancing around and doing yoga. At night, it could turn into a pretty scary place. So, I always had this feeling of kind of, I would imagine what was in the closet. And I have these dreams. I have full color, vivid dreams, right? In which, and sometimes I go back to these places, right? But what I have learned is that, you know, some of these scariest things during the scariest times are the times we end up finding out what we're made of. We have the opportunity to, take this soup and, add stuff to it and see, find our gifts that are buried in the closet, buried underground. Pull them up, right? Because the darkness hides, not only the evil, not only the scary, but also the potentially useful, right? Oh, you find an old closet or cleaning out an old drawer, right? Don't you always find something in there that's useful or that you forgot about? A picture of somebody, something that warms your heart, or just something useful like a can opener or a pen or a cool pen that you got on vacation that you forgot about. I don't know. Or something like, oh, that's that, CD I was looking for, or that tape I was looking for. Not that you can play it on anything, but you know what I mean. There's always something, hidden in that back drawer or that back closet. And I love nothing more than going to my grandparents' house and looking for stuff. And, then I'd bring it out and they go, oh, I haven't seen that in a while. That was me. I have the dubiously useful capability of going and finding things other people have failed to find because they gave up too soon. So, yeah, and then, so when we get to this time in the astrological year, it's like back to the middle and around again. It's like the astrological wheel, right? So, yeah. So the very last degree of Pisces, that's like, it's like when all the water goes down the drain and you see all the gunk that's left, when you're cleaning up the sink after dinner and everything. And you clean it out and then you start all over again, right? Every time you make a nice meal, you got to clean up, right? And start all over again. But if you think about it, if you really pay attention in life, even if you live in the same place your whole life, I guarantee no 2 days will be the same. If you really pay attention to those little things and the energy, you can never get bored because you're not the same person. So I think about what turns me on. You know what I used to say when I was in my 20s, if you asked me, what turns you on? People. Somebody, potential mate, I would say. Quirky personality, sense of humor, somebody who, is interesting to talk to and thinks I'm interesting and listens. And that's not too different today, but maybe I would have said, if you asked me in my early 20s, I'd say somebody who is a good dancer, somebody who's, in good shape. And I still think those are important. Not so much of the dancing part, but, some of the things that I used to think and look to someone else for, now I look to in myself. And I have realized that the things that I like in myself, and it's just in terms of friendships, are the things that I tend to like in other people, and vice versa, right? So there's that. And I see it's blinking at me. So anyway, back to the middle and around again. And it's, oh, yeah, I forgot. I was gonna show this little thing. This is something my husband gave me for Christmas. It's Dalai Lama. It's can you see that? This is my Christmas card from my husband, and it says, the source of ugly Christmas sweaters. Don't sweat it. I have this thing about alpacas and llamas, But, it kind of reminded me of the Aries energy, because Aries is the ram, and then last week with the goats, well, that's Capricorn. But this is kind of like what is this? Some kind of an alpaca or something. So, anyway, there's my little friend there. I wanted to make sure I pointed out. And I listen to a lot of different astrologers, and I have so many different thoughts. And then I get out here, and I go, what you really want to hear is, my my take on things. Okay. Yeah. So all you need to really know is Aries. We've got a bunch of planets in Aries. Aries is all about going for it. It's like my kid in his new Miata driving back to campus. He doesn't even know where he's going to park the thing. He doesn't even have a parking pass because he's only a sophomore and they're all taken. I'm like, meanwhile, my other son is like texting me, meals that he made, and like, I just, people coming in my house and like leaving stuff and taking stuff, and, talk about boundaries. I don't, but, it's all good. It's, yeah. So they had the reading too. One other thing I wanted to say. There was, Jesus taking the mud and putting it on, it gave the guy a facial, the guy who was, he couldn't see when he was born blind, and then all of a sudden he could see. I mean, that's a real metaphor for these times, right? It's a metaphor for consciousness, for all the things that were hidden in the dark that now are becoming obvious, right? All the things that, and that goes for good things too, right? You don't, it's like looking at, or hearing a song, right, that you heard as a kid, and then you know the lyrics, and you're like, oh, is that what they were saying? It's kind of like that. Watching a show with the perspective of an adult that you watched as a kid and going, oh, you know what? That's, now I get it. I get it. It's, so, if somebody is telling it, and then he went and he said, this guy, Jesus, he did this, and he's just, giving his point of view. And they're like, oh, we got to go and ask his parents. We don't believe him. Who's this guy? Who cares? The guy was in and of himself. He knew he knew who Jesus was, right? He knew what he felt. And that's kind of like how we have to be. The heck with this person. This person doesn't believe you. That person, oh, we got to, and his parents said, no, ask him. He's a grown-up. He can talk for himself. Who are the people when you're trying to do something? You're trying to, speak your truth. Really, the only people the only ones are you and God who need to know, really. If somebody sees, what how you've changed and what you're doing in the world, and they, it's like when Harry met Sally, I'll have what she's having, right? Eventually somebody's going to see that man and go, you know what? There's something to it. Who's this man, Jesus? Who's this? What is this thing? What happened to you? Some people will get it and some people still won't. And that's okay. Because he can go and he has a brand new life to live now, this man. And Jesus knows that he knows that, Jesus knows that he knows that Jesus knows that, well, you know what I mean. When you know, you know. When you don't know that you don't know. Until you know. And then you know that you didn't know before, but that you know now, All right, on that note, I'm going to leave you all confused and go and make some nice minestrone soup. So until next week, hang in there. Happy new moon. I think there's a new moon Tuesday. Ride the waves. Ride the great, happy new year. And happy new Aries year. And Yeah, go dance. See you next week. Bye-bye.